Hi, everyone, and welcome to Softball Canada's third speaker series webinar presented by Rawlings Canada. The topic for today's webinar is Coach's Corner with our guest speakers Melissa Basilio, Jean-Yves Doucette, and John Stewart. Although the softball season is currently on hold due to the coronavirus situation, we are happy to have the opportunity to engage with our members during these unprecedented times, and we hope you will enjoy listening to our great speakers. Bonjour à tous et bienvenue au troisième webinaire de Softball Canada présenté par Rawlings Canada. Le sujet du webinaire d'aujourd'hui est le coin de l'entraîneur avec nos invités spéciaux Melissa Basilio, Jean-Yves Doucette et John Stewart. Quoique la saison de softball est en pause en raison de la situation COVID-19, on est heureux d'avoir la chance de nous engager avec vous lors de ces temps et on espère que vous aimerez écouter à nos excellents invités. On est heureux d'avoir un invité francophone sur ce webinaire et sa partie du webinaire aura lieu en français. Sentez-vous libre d'entrer vos questions pour chacun et chacune de nos invités en tout moment dans la boîte des questions sur votre écran. We are pleased to have a francophone guest on this webinar with Jean-Yves, and his part of the presentation will take place in French. We'll provide a short summary of his answers in English afterwards. Feel free to type your questions for any of the speakers in the questions box throughout the first part of the webinar. We will answer as many as possible during the Q&A portion. Before we get started, we want to thank you all for joining us and for following the social distancing measures as directed by the Government of Canada and your local health authorities. Softball Canada is monitoring the situation closely and is posting regular updates on its website. Please continue to follow the government's COVID-19 prevention measures to help flatten the curve, and we will be back on the field as soon as it's safe to do so. Avant de commencer, on veut vous remercier d'être avec nous et de suivre les mesures de distanciation sociale telles qu'identifiées par le gouvernement du Canada et vos autorités locales de soins de la santé. Softball Canada surveille la situation de près et publie des mises à jour régulières sur son site web. Veuillez continuer à suivre les mesures de prévention du gouvernement du Canada pour aider à rétrécir la courbe et on sera de retour sur le terrain dès que ce sera possible d'y retourner en sécurité. My name is Gilles Leblanc. I'm the Manager of Marketing and Communications at Softball Canada, and I'll be co-hosting this session. Please allow me to introduce KRISTIN Noonan, our Manager Coaching Services, who will be leading our conversation with our first two guests. Take it away, KRISTIN.
Thank you, Gilles. As Gilles said, my name is KRISTIN Noonan, Manager of Coaching Services. Okay. Allow me to introduce our first guest, Speaker John Stewart, the head coach of our men's national team program. After climbing the coaching ranks in BC, John joined the men's national team program as an assistant coach from 2010 to 2014 and has since been the head coach in 2015. He led Canada to a WBSC World Cup and Pan American Games gold medal in his first season, as well as back-to-back bronze medals at the last two WBSC World Championships. Welcome, John, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, KRISTIN. Thanks for having me. It's been looking forward to doing this.
Excellent. Before we jump into team culture and team selection, which we're talking about today, I know you held many roles and titles throughout your softball career. Can you tell us a little bit about your player experience, your 20+ years of coaching, and how you came to be the head coach of our men's national team?
Yeah, my background actually is baseball. I played baseball right up till I was 21. I started playing fast pitch when I was 16, just kind of got talked into it and ended up loving the game a lot more than baseball, and just kept playing that throughout my whole life, and just running some club teams in a very small town, Squamish, BC. Just taking over a couple of club teams, and then in 2002, I was asked to help coach the BC Junior Boys team. We were actually hosting the Nationals in Vancouver, and we won a silver medal in that. I didn't, just went back to playing club ball in 2003. We had started a junior A or a senior A men's team out of our small town of Squamish at that point. And then in 2004, I was asked to coach the BC junior team again. And we went to Scarborough there, I believe, for the nationals. That summer, I was asked to be the head coach of the Vancouver Grey Sox, senior A men's team. Took over that team in 2005, and that's where I met Mark Smith at some of the Canadian nationals. And he, in 2009, he asked me to come and be support staff for the Worlds in Saskatoon in 2009. So that's how I got my introduction to the national team. And then in 2010, I was approached to put my name forward as an assistant coach because Marty Kernaghan didn't have the time to do it anymore. So I put my name forward for that, and I got that role, and I was in that role till 2014. And then November 2014, I became the head coach of the men's team, and it's been an awesome experience the whole way.
Excellent. Now, over the last 10 years with the national team, what has been the highlight for you, whether that be as the assistant coach or a head coach?
Oh, by far the WBSC World Championships in Saskatoon in 2015, with the atmosphere there in our home country, just taking over the program as the head coach. You know, you look back on it now, and it was a bit of a whirlwind because took over, brought in coaching staff, some camps, and then we're right at it. And then, so when we won the World Championships in Saskatoon, to answer your question, that was by far the highlight of my career. And then 2 weeks later, we're in Toronto for the Pan Am Games, and we won that as well. So it was like a month-long total experience. It was something that I wish everyone could experience, how exciting it was, and how happy I was for the guys that were on the team, and got to watch them celebrate a World Championship and a Pan Am Championship.
Absolutely. It's pretty exciting to have those medals around your neck as well. So I can imagine having the role as head coach. There's a lot of different roles, but one of them is to develop and foster team culture. So my next question for you is, what does team culture mean to you, and how do you develop effective team culture?
Well, team culture is probably one of the top 3 things we look at. And when our coaching staff got together when I first took over as head coach, myself, John Hill, Les Howie, and Mike Brancho, of course, was there. And, you know, first thing we did was have a meeting, and one of the things we talked about was changing the culture of the program. And by that, I mean, we're looking at, you know, may not be the best player, but has a great attitude, wants to be on the team, willing to do anything, actually is just as happy for his teammates as he is for his own personal success. So we put a lot of thought into that. It's very important to us. It's right at the top of our list. As everyone knows, it only takes one bad apple to upset the cart. And so we put a lot of research, scouting, and interviews into the players that we want to be on that final roster.
Good. Now, you mentioned a few different names there, and I know there's different expectations within team culture, and I want to draw that out a little bit more about the different roles people have and how you expect them each to play a part. So what role do you play as the head coach versus your assistant coaches, your players, or even the families and fans when it comes to team culture?
Yeah, I'm a huge believer. I always have been in surround yourself with good people. People that you trust, people that have the same vision as you, and fortunately for me, the people that I surrounded myself with in 2015, the whole staff, you know, from Mike Brancho, John Hill, brought him on board. Les Howie was an assistant coach with me since 2010. Well, he was actually on before me, but I wanted to keep him on, and brought in Doug Allen to help. And so we all had the same vision, and I'm a firm believer in letting everybody have their say. It's not a one-man show here. We sit down before and after each practice, before and after each game. We discuss. It's open. Like I say, at the end of the day, one person has to make the final decision, but we all leave that room in agreement that we're all on the same page. And I'm a firm believer in having my assistant coaches and anybody on the staff have a lot of input and as much say as they want. It's very important to me.
That's good. Now, do you have a favorite team building exercise you like to do?
Us coaches like to watch the boys do the shuttle run, that's for sure. But no, actually, and it goes back to 2015. The best team building exercise that we did, and you know, maybe it was because we were successful, but it was we had the boys. We told them they were going to have a day off, and then we changed our mind that night and told them to have all their gear ready for practice. 10 a.m. be in the lobby, and they loaded up all their gear, and we actually took them to a 5-pin bowling alley, and we had teams drawn out. All the coaches drafted teams, and we had a competition, and it really set the mood for going forward. It relaxed everybody. It got guys that maybe aren't rooming with a guy on their bowling team. There was some side bets going on, of course, and that team bonding for us at that particular time of the World Championships was huge, and it's something I'll never forget. So that's my favorite one.
Yeah, that does sound like a lot of fun. Now, obviously, in the last 6 weeks, there's been a bit of a shift. What have you been doing, or the team been doing, to ensure that there's still some team culture, team bonding going on during COVID for the men's team?
Yeah, I've been reaching out to the guys individually and as a group chat. We've got Adam Davies, our athletic therapist, has put together, with the help of Maddie Waugh, put together a workout program for the athletes. And so we've communicated that to them. Myself and the coaching staff and Mike Brancho have had a couple of conference calls just to discuss what's, dates and where we're at in the unknown. I mean, it really is the unknown. So other than keeping in touch with some text chats or individually, and emails, of course, that's about all we've done to date. So.
Good. Now, this next question is going to lead us into a little bit of team selection, which is our next topic. But when you are looking at team culture, is it something that you're focusing on before and even during team selection, or is it something you focus more on after the team has been finalized?
No, it has to be, for us, it has to be done long before the team is finalized. We want athletes that are going to have the team first attitude, put the team before any of their personal goals. So that, I mean, from our scouting standpoint and from our interview standpoint, it is something that we definitely stress upon, doing before we make that final roster. We can't afford being on the national team, being in New Zealand or wherever, and having a bad choice as a teammate. And we've been lucky that so far that we've done our research. The leadership part of the team, who we pick as the leaders on the team, we've been very lucky because they kind of control the room and the inmates, so to speak. So if there is anything, they take care of it. And we've been very lucky to have great captains and leadership, and Steve Mullally and Ryan Wolf, Jeff Ellsworth, Jason Hill, Derek Mason, guys like that just some of the other athletes really look up to. So to answer your question, yeah, it's very important to us beforehand, before the process is even started and having camps and whatnot.
Good. Now, speaking of the selection process, how important is it to have that concrete plan in place before any camps take place? And what are the main areas you're looking at when selecting your team?
Well, we're, it's definitely not just a summer event for the national team and the coaches. It's a 12-month-a-year job where we're keeping in touch with the players. We're monitoring their fitness testing, their workout programs, and so when we're going into picking a team, we usually start with a 40-man athlete pool in September. We touch base with them individually. We scout them throughout the summer, and they're with their club teams, especially at the big championship. We try, even if we're not at some of the smaller events or the immediate staff, we'll have people there that we reach out to, ex-players, what have you, just on how the players are performing. So for us, it's, if we're to categorize it, it's culture, good teammate first, performance, and then we're picking players for specific roles. We're not just picking the top 16 hitters in the country or the top 16, 17 defensive players or pitchers. It's where is this person going to fit in a role? Whether it's is he going to be able to handle being a bench player or a backup second baseman or backup catcher or the third pitcher? So we really have to analyze each player and where we feel that they can fit in the particular role we have in mind for them.
Excellent. Now, obviously you listed multiple selection criteria, and understanding that there are many variables. Does this criteria, or kind of the ranking in which they factor in, change depending on the athletes you have in front of you and what competitions you have upcoming for the season?
Yeah, absolutely. It changes from time to time, but for the most part, we have a criteria that we follow. Not only that's put through Softball Canada, but Sport Canada as well. We're very lucky to have them on board, as everybody in Softball Canada knows. But when we're moving forward to put together a program, the general consensus is that we have 4 or 5 items that are something that will never change, and then there's, depending on the dates, the travel, the time off that the athletes need. It's all put into context, and it's really, it's about communicating with the athletes, seeing how much time they're allowed off with their work, and luckily we've been, because it's every 2 years for the Worlds now. Luckily it's not a lot of time, and that's also unfortunate too, is because puts us at a disadvantage with some other countries, because we don't get together as much as possible.
Yeah, good. Final question for you, John. Over the years of having to select many teams, many with our national team, what do you find most effective for notifying the team of the final result? And obviously you're dealing with adults with the men's team. Would you offer any different advice for coaches of younger athletes?
Well, and that's a great question. It almost goes back to a little bit of your previous question, and it all depends on what's happening that particular year. I know in 2015, we narrowed our final group from 40 down to 21. And so when we narrowed it down to the 40 to 21 to bring to a camp, that was all via email through myself, Mike Brancho, and Softball Canada. And then once we got to the 21, to have a 21 or 22 where we had a camp and almost a competition to see who our final spots were going to be. In 2015, I reached out to them personally, first the players that didn't make it, and then to the players that did make it. And but then, having said that, last year with the timing of everything, and we kind of changed our selection day process. We now what we do is our coaching staff all attends the Canadian Nationals, and then we pick our 40 athlete pool at that time. So I mean, at that time it's just via we're announcing who the 40 athletes are. We're not contacting hundreds of players around Canada saying, hey, unfortunately you didn't make the athletes pool this year. We're just letting the 40 or 44 that we choose, that they have been chosen for the athletes pool, what the protocol going forward is. And finally, about coaches recommending when they're dealing with younger kids, I think it's very, depending on the age, of course. I mean, if it's younger kids, like under 15, I think both the parent and the player should be there when you're explaining it to them. And maybe even younger, maybe 14 or 13, the parent should be there. But anything over that, I think it's dealing with the athlete on their own, And then and allowing it for if the parents do have any questions, they can feel free to ask. But I think being as transparent as possible and being honest with parents and athletes is the best route you can take.
Excellent. Thank you, John. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. We will see you back here in a few minutes after our next two guest speakers. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Welcome. All right, so our next speaker is Melissa Basilio, assistant coach and manager of our Canadian women's national team. Melissa's first involvement was as assistant coach with the junior women's national team in 2006, and she later went on to serve as the head coach at the 2013 and 2015 WBSC World Championships. She has also been an assistant coach with the women's national team since 2009, representing Team Canada at a total of 5 World Championships and 3 Pan American Games. We're happy to have you with us today, Melissa, and we look forward to hearing you speak on running an effective practice.
Thanks very much, Kristen.
So, you've been involved in our program for over 14 years, and you're currently one of the women's national team assistant coaches, as I mentioned. But before we get into your role there, can you tell us a little bit about your past, growing up, your very successful playing career in university, and maybe most importantly, how you got into coaching?
For sure. I mean, I think as far back as my memory will take me, I was around the diamond. Both my parents played the sport, or a version of the sport, brothers, cousins, and that. So it was just always around the game, and then spent a majority of my rep playing days with the Markham organization. Played a couple summers in Brampton, and that's where I would learn later that my national team staff connection it was initiated. Completed my undergraduate degree and played collegiately at the University of Delaware. And then, you know, as a collegiate athlete, we're kind of thrown into working at clinics and working with the community and kids. And it was really there that I started to learn that, you know, it's kind of fun. But even at that point, a career as a coach wasn't in my mind at that point. My brother coached and, you know, go home during breaks and would help out with his team and also do other clinics. And that summer after I graduated, I helped out with one of my coaches that used to coach me, and as well as my old high school basketball team. And I think that summer really was where I thought, hey, I think I want to spend my summers doing this, at that level. And that year, through a connection with the coach I was helping out, I got a call from the head coach at that time at Winthrop University. So kind of took that leap and just said yes to a position, you know, having very little coaching experience, and moved to the US. And a year after that, was asked to be an assistant coach for their junior program. And as you said, in 2009, applied for an assistant coach position with our senior team, and have been on board with Coach Smith since.
That's excellent. Now, you spoke your role as a university coach and then transitioning into your role with our national teams. So with almost 20 years of experience in coaching, what do you feel has been the most rewarding part so far?
Wow. You know, it's tough not to sit here and talk to you about all the, you know, the big wins. Our qualifying game last summer, you know, the back-to-back conference championships at Winthrop, and, you know, our Pan Am gold medal in basically my backyard. But I think what really resonates right now is, you know, just getting to be a part of this journey, this opportunity to do something, you know, this rare opportunity to do something great with the group of individuals that I'm around in terms of our athletes and our staff. You know, I wish everybody had the opportunity to witness the 89 personal bests that these individuals accomplished in Halifax a couple months ago, and, you know, Kaylee Rafter's walk-off home run at the qualifiers, and those are big moments. But it's really the commitment, the effort, the sacrifices that everybody part of this journey is willing to, you know, to go through to be where we are. You can't beat that.
No, that's excellent. Now, speaking of the women's team, I know you're very close with the athletes both on and off the field, and we're going to switch our focus a little bit to on the field for a few minutes and talk about practice planning, which is a very important part of being a coach. So first I wanted to talk about daily. So those everyday skills are the musts that take place at the beginning of every practice. My question is, what do your dailies include with the women's team, and do they remain the same throughout the season?
Great question. And I know more than likely everybody on the call, when you hear the word dailies or everyday drills, we kind of go to seeing our players going through those types of skills and drills. So with the national team, when you think about dailies, these are non-negotiable skills that we want our athletes to go through before practices, before games, to make sure that they're both physically and mentally prepared to get into what they're going to get into for that day. The challenges, and even with our high performing athletes, is it's difficult sometimes to go through the same things over and over and over again with the same focus, with the same intensity. So the challenge that you've got to go through is, how can I focus on these fundamental non-negotiable skills but incorporate other ways to perform them so that the kids or the athletes continue to stay engaged, rather than just going through the motions, which is often the case with doing these things every day. So changing it up is key. I think about this winter, and our athletes, again, at the level they're at, they took it upon themselves to incorporate what they need to do to be ready to play their individual positions. We've incorporated some of the things that our strength and conditioning coach does and some of those exercises, but using softball skills just to change it up a bit. So, don't lose sight of those non-negotiables. What you want to do at practice, and that the skills that your team needs to focus on before they get out there together. But if you can, as best as you can, try to do them in different ways. And this doesn't have to be different at every practice, but say every 3 practices you change it up so that they are focusing on those game skills, just in different ways.
Good. So I imagine there is a lot that you want to cover in each practice. How do you know, first of all, what needs to be focused on, and how do you make sure that you get all the repetitions in you need for that, but also have the opportunity to capture those teachable moments as they arise?
Yeah, I think, recognizing where you are in the season, as well as, where you are in your yearly training plan, can really help you focus on those points that you need to address at each practice. One key thing too is, before every practice, it's really important that everybody who's involved, the coaches or, parents or whoever's helping you out, as well as the athletes, that they understand what the intent and what the purpose is and what the goals are for that practice on that day. Maybe you had a game 2 nights ago and you want to revisit some of the situations that took place in that game. So, let everybody know that we're going to spend 15, 20 minutes on our dailies and make sure, we're getting through the things that we need to get through. But for the rest of the practice, you might only have 2 or 3 ground balls, because we're really going to take the time to walk through these things and make sure that that we've covered everything that we want to cover in terms of game situations. And everybody walks away from that practice knowing that, hey, I only fielded 2 ground balls or 2 pop flies today, but I did learn a lot, and can go back to that game and think about those situations. Another practice, you might have a series of drills that you want to get through, and as you're going through it, you're finding that you're stopping the drill more often than you had planned to or had hoped to, because of those teaching moments. And that's okay. Let those happen. You don't want to miss out on helping the girls or boys learn in those moments, but just recognize that you might have to adapt later to kind of get through what you had originally planned to get through. We want to give them immediate feedback. We want to give them consistent feedback. So just try not to miss out on those moments as they're coming in your practice. And at the same time, you can schedule those debriefs. If you've got a drill and the intent is to go through 3 rounds, we're going to get 3 rounds. we're not going to stop regardless of kind of what's going on in that drill, and then take a minute or two after that drill to revisit and have some, discussion points with the team. So I think it's all about, expressing and recognizing what the intent of is that practice that day, and then things change as you go, and you'll have to adjust, but try not to miss out on those key teaching moments.
Now, you mentioned gameplay a little bit. In practice, how do you replicate the stress and pressure a real game puts on the athletes?
Yeah, we think about, the emotions and all the highs and lows that you might experience in a game, and really can be impossible to truly replicate those moments in a game. So, but there are ways to do it, and I think it's, our job as coaches to help the athletes experience as close to a game situation as they can, so that when they do face those situations in games, it's not a huge surprise to them. So, make it challenging enough. And again, you have to base this around, recognize the stage of development that your athletes are in. And if we have a practice set out where they might be failing more than they're succeeding, which is the nature of our sport, that might not be so fun for a 10-year-old. So definitely have to recognize where they are in their stage of development, use your resources, like the ADM and, resources such as that. But if you can use base runners as much as you can. And I know there are practices where we might not have the numbers or participants to be able to do that, but we've gotten to using a stopwatch, and who is the fastest runner on your team, what is her home to first time, and you can time contact to glove, and are your players making that within that time frame, and it becomes fun, right? It becomes a competition, and it sounds pretty serious as it's happening, but they'll have fun trying to beat that time. So it's really incorporating those challenges as much as you can, and being okay that with, they may fail, or they may do more, or struggle a little more than you'd want to see them struggle. So be prepared to help them through that, and when they do succeed, make sure you celebrate those wins, no matter how small they are.
Good. Now, you led into my next question nicely, because you touched on the resource of the ADM, the Athlete Development Matrix. But my next question was going to be for you. For many beginning coaches, practice planning is a struggle. So what advice would you give new coaches or ones who are struggling when it comes to practice planning?
Touched on that a little bit, KRISTIN, with some of the other answers, but just to reiterate, it's, be really clear on what your goals and intentions are for the practice, or sets or series of practices coming up. And once you know what you want to do and what you accomplish, it's important to prioritize those things. So, we want to accomplish A, B, and C today, and if we get to D, that's bonus. But if we don't, then we're going to adjust, and we'll make sure that we get it done the next time when it fits. But yeah, so know what you want to do, let everybody around you know what the intentions are, and then prioritize those things. And the other thing, like you said, is just make sure that what you're doing at practice is appropriate for, the player's stage of development, and, we want them to come back, right? So if it's a little bit too challenging, then, maybe you want to incorporate the game-like situations, and that might not be softball related, right? It just might be a game within the practice that's gonna, what they're gonna have fun with. Maybe you've done a lot of drills at this point, and we just need to step away a little bit, have a little fun competition rather than drills. So.
Excellent. All right, one final question for you, Melissa. Did you ever imagine you would be coaching in the Olympics, and how does it feel to know that you'll be there in 2021?
Oh man, no, I definitely did not, especially at the earlier years of my, coaching career, and knowing that softball wasn't in the Olympics. After that 2008 season, it was kind of, I had this huge opportunity to be in the national team coaching staff, and, wear the maple leaf across my chest in that sense. But You know, I didn't know if that was a possibility, and I said, you know, yes to the opportunities that brought me here. So I think what would describe it for me and what it feels like is just the word that stands out is really grateful. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that have allowed me to be a part of this rare experience. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. I know we are all looking forward to watching softball in the next Olympics. So
Awesome.
we'll chat with you in a little bit as well.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Sorry, Mel, could you turn off your webcam? Thanks. So our final speaker today will be Jean-Yves Doucette, who was an assistant coach of our junior men's national team from 2015 to 2018, and is currently the head coach for the Team Quebec men's softball team for the 2021 Canada Summer Games. Jean-Yves will be answering questions in French, but a brief summary of his presentation will be given in English afterwards. On est fiers d'accueillir avec nous Jean-Yves Doucette, qui était entraîneur adjoint de notre équipe nationale masculine junior de 2015 à 2018 et qui est présentement entraîneur-chef de l'équipe masculine du Québec pour les Jeux d'été du Canada de 2021. Merci d'être avec nous et bienvenue, Jean-Yves.
Bonjour, ça me fait plaisir de partager mon expérience.
Excellent. Pourrais-tu nous donner un petit résumé de votre application au softball et comme entraîneur?
Oui, j'ai joué en tant que joueur ici à Saint-Léonard-d'Aston dans les ligues intermédiaires. Et par la suite, je suis devenu entraîneur. Et ce qui a vraiment déclenché ma passion, c'est en 1989 quand j'ai coaché l'équipe du Québec aux Jeux du Canada. On avait gagné la médaille d'argent, donc ça a réveillé une passion chez moi. Par la suite, j'ai participé à 4 Jeux du Canada, donc c'est le 5e que je vais faire en 2021. Et j'ai participé à des camps et au championnat d'Europe en France pour une équipe U22 féminine. Donc, ça, c'était en 2008. Par la suite, j'ai coaché pendant de nombreuses années les équipes du Québec, soit midget et junior. Donc, remporté des médailles d'or en 2000, 2013 et 2016. Donc, ça, c'est quand tu as du succès, ben, ça aide à garder ta motivation. Et par la suite, j'ai été invité à participer avec l'équipe nationale à Whitehorse en 2014 à titre de guest coach. Et par la suite, à Midland en 2016, où est-ce qu'on a remporté la médaille de bronze, et en 2018 à Prince-Albert. Donc, c'était vraiment des expériences inoubliables que j'ai vécues en tant qu'entraîneur.
So Jean-Yves just explained a bit about his coaching background. He played in Saint-Léonard-d'Aston as an athlete and then joined the coaching ranks, started at the Canada Summer Games program in 1999. He's been, 1997, correct, Jean-Yves? 1997?
What?
Wait, and he's coached at the last 4 Canada Games, and he's also the head coach of the upcoming 2021 Canada Games. And he also coached in Europe a little bit on the women's side, and also his involvement with the junior men's program. Alors, Jean-Yves, on va sauter dans les questions. On va traiter du sujet des caractéristiques d'un entraîneur compétent. Pourrais-tu nous expliquer qu'est-ce qui est une des plus grandes qualités qu'un entraîneur doit posséder?
Bien, je pense que, en premier, il faut qu'il soit passionné de son sport, du softball, puis passionné de la vie aussi et de travailler avec les gens avec lesquels il intervient. On sait que le softball, c'est beaucoup de préparation, c'est beaucoup d'entraînement, c'est beaucoup de matchs, d'analyse, de lecture, de voyage. Donc, ça nécessite beaucoup d'heures. Si tu n'es pas passionné de ce sport-là, tu ne dureras pas longtemps dans ce sport-là. L'autre aspect aussi qui est non pas à négliger, c'est que parfois l'entraîneur il circule sur une autoroute du succès, mais parfois aussi il circule sur des chemins de cailloux. Donc, il y a des situations difficiles et si tu es passionné, ça va t'aider beaucoup à passer au travers ces épreuves difficiles. Et pour donner un bon exemple de quelqu'un qui est passionné, je pense que si vous jasez avec Jeff Ellsworth, il ne jasera pas de sa passion, il va vous transmettre sa passion. Donc, c'est vraiment un gars passionné. L'autre aspect, c'est que l'entraîneur doit être passionné de la vie, passionné de travailler avec les gens. Au début de ma carrière, je croyais qu'un entraîneur, ça pouvait changer le monde en intervenant avec des joueurs. Et par la suite, je me suis aperçu que l'entraîneur, lui, peut développer chez les joueurs la confiance en soi, le travail, la discipline, la rigueur, l'esprit d'équipe. C'est des valeurs qui vont te servir pour la vie. Donc, 40 ans plus tard, je suis non pas, je m'interroge pas, je suis convaincu qu'un entraîneur peut changer le monde petit à petit parce il peut avoir une influence positive sur les joueurs.
So I asked Jean-Yves about some of the the biggest quality a coach should have. And he got into being passionate for both sport and passionate for life, because when you pass on your passion to your athletes, you're creating better athletes, more confident athletes. And he got into some of the stories to kind of reinforce that point. Alors, Jean-Yves, quelle est l'importance pour l'entraîneur d'être un modèle pour ses athlètes?
Mais je pense que l'entraîneur, lui, il fournit un plan pour performer aux joueurs. Et s'il est crédible, les joueurs vont acheter le plan, ils vont appliquer le plan. Je vous donne un exemple. Todd McCulloch, qui était responsable des lanceurs et receveurs, quand il s'assoyait avec les lanceurs et les receveurs pour établir un plan concernant les frappeurs adverses, les joueurs, ils savaient que Todd McCulloch avait passé l'après-midi, la soirée, puis une partie de la nuit à étudier les frappeurs adverses. Donc, Todd McCulloch, c'était une personne crédible pour eux. Il achetait facilement son plan. Deuxième des choses, je pense que c'est important pour un entraîneur d'être humble, de ne pas dire à ses athlètes qu'il connaît tout, mais qui est un part of the game, donc qui est part of the gang, qui peut avoir aussi, d'autres personnes peuvent avoir des solutions. L'autre chose aussi, je pense, qui est important pour un entraîneur, c'est, en anglais, on dit tough and fair, donc en français, exigeant et juste envers les joueurs. Je pense que les joueurs apprécient beaucoup cette façon-là de fonctionner. En utilisant aussi l'humour, je pense que les messages passent très bien quand on utilise l'humour. Un entraîneur qui est calme, il va avoir des joueurs calmes. Un entraîneur en forme, il va motiver ses joueurs à s'entraîner. Un entraîneur discipliné, il va avoir des joueurs disciplinés. Un entraîneur organisé, préparé, ses joueurs vont être aussi organisés et préparés. Il faut aussi que l'entraîneur ait du plaisir avec ses joueurs. Donc, je pense que c'est important que les joueurs réalisent que l'entraîneur fait partie d'une équipe, fait partie d'une famille, puis qu'on peut avoir s'il n'y a pas de plaisir, c'est une des raisons pourquoi les athlètes font ce sport-là, parce qu'ils ont du plaisir à performer. Il faut qu'ils soient respectueux, calmes, et je pense que les joueurs vont être à l'image de l'entraîneur. Donc, c'est très important qu'ils soient crédibles et qu'ils soient un exemple pour ces joueurs.
So I asked Jean-Yves about the importance for coaches to be models for their athletes. And he got into quite a few traits that a coach should have. I mean, the players should be comfortable with them, have trust in them, know that they're putting in the work to make them successful. But you also have to mix in some humor in there, always be listening to the athletes, working with them and not giving straight orders, but at the same time, you have to be tough and fair. Athletes really respect when coaches are upfront with them and really respond when there's a good relationship there, and there's many qualities that Jean-Yves listed to be able to do that. Alors Jean-Yves, qu'est-ce que tu penserais de l'importance de la planification dans une séance d'entraînement?
Quand un entraîneur prépare un entraînement, je pense qu'il faut qu'il se pose 3 questions dans sa préparation. Est-ce que le joueur va apprendre quelque chose dans l'entraînement? Est-ce qu'il va travailler fort? Puis est-ce qu'il va avoir du plaisir? Je pense que c'est 3 aspects très importants de la préparation d'un entraînement. Parfois, il y a des gens qui nous disent une pratique de softball, c'est facile, tu attrapes la balle, tu n'es pas en action. Mais je pense que c'est le défi pour l'entraîneur de mettre tous ses joueurs en action le plus possible. Et c'est pas vrai qu'un entraînement de softball, c'est pas difficile physiquement. Ça dépend de l'entraîneur. Et il faut que les situations d'entraînement se rapprochent le plus possible des situations de jeu. Ça, c'est bien important. Être dynamique, enthousiaste et aussi bien expliquer et s'assurer de poser des questions pour être certain que le joueur a bien compris les concepts. Un bon exemple de ça, c'est Mark Quinn qui vient donner des cliniques de lanceurs au Québec. Mark Quinn, c'est un anglophone. Il a développé des façons d'enseigner qu'on n'a plus besoin de traducteurs pour nos jeunes francophones pour apprendre le mouvement du lancer. Mark Quinn, il démontre très bien et il s'adapte à la situation. Je pense que c'est une bonne. On peut aussi utiliser les transitions entre les exercices pour améliorer le côté physique, soit des sprints, soit du travail musculaire entre les exercices de softball proprement dit. Et l'autre chose qui peut motiver les joueurs, c'est de les nommer responsables d'une station. Si on fonctionne en station, on peut utiliser les joueurs pour être responsables d'une station, donc ça les responsabilise et ça améliore de beaucoup la motivation à s'entraîner.
So in this question, I asked Jean-Yves how important it is to plan out practices, kind of similar to what Melissa Basilio spoke about earlier. So you said there's 3 things that are important when you're planning a practice session, that the players have to be learning something, they have to work hard, and they have to have fun. So Jean-Yves talked more about those 3 things in detail to be able to get the most out of your athletes in practice. Alors Jean-Yves, quels sont les moyens pour un entraîneur de s'améliorer?
Dans ces années-ci, avec la technologie, c'est magnifique. On n'avait pas ça il y a 30 ans. Donc, il y a des moyens extraordinaires de s'améliorer en tant qu'entraîneur. Le meilleur exemple de ça, c'est Mario Gay et Michel Leclerc sont 2 probablement des meilleurs formateurs de lanceurs au Québec. Michel Leclerc, il n'a jamais lancé une balle. Il n'a jamais été lanceur. Toutefois, il a suivi des formations, il s'est documenté et il a formé les 4 meilleurs lanceurs produits au Québec dans les dernières années. Donc, il y a des excellents livres, des excellents vidéos. Un exemple, Human Kinetics. Vous avez Championship Production qui produisent d'excellents vidéos, d'excellents documents. Softball Canada qui produit les documents U14, U12 et U16 dans lesquels il y a des séances toutes faites à l'avance. Il y a plusieurs sites Internet qui fournissent d'excellents éducatifs, d'excellents drills. Sur YouTube, on peut trouver d'excellents drills aussi. Et il y a un livre pour la préparation mentale qui est magique qui s'appelle Heads Up Baseball de Ken Revisa que les entraîneurs peuvent utiliser. Les webinaires comme on fait là, c'est très, très, très bien. Mais aussi, quand tu rencontres d'autres entraîneurs aussi, ça a déjà arrivé que je suis allé voir un entraîneur. En Ontario, ils ont des excellents entraîneurs. Puis je suis allé les voir puis j'ai dit why I lose and why you win against me. And, ces entraîneurs-là, parfois, ils vont te donner un conseil ou 2 qui vont faire que ta carrière va changer du tout. Je pense que ça, souvent on oublie que la confrérie des entraîneurs, c'est une mine d'informations incroyable aussi.
So I asked Jean-Yves about what are some of the ways that coaches can improve, and he talked about a lot of online resources put out by Softball Canada, webinars, drills, anything that you can find online, and also talking to other coaches and getting more information that they'll, coaches have a good kind of a friendship going. When you play against them, you always talk with them, and they're always willing to help, right? They want to see all athletes succeed. So, find those coaches, talk to those coaches, and the more they give you, the more you can help your athletes. Alors, une dernière question pour vous, Jean-Yves. Qu'est-ce que l'importance de la communication dans le coaching?
Bien, je pense que l'art de communiquer, non seulement avec ses joueurs, mais avec notre staff d'entraîneurs, c'est un élément essentiel ces dernières années. Si je communiquais avec mes joueurs aujourd'hui, comme il y a 30 ans, j'ai plus de joueurs demain matin. Okay? Donc, c'est important d'être près des joueurs. Dans le sens suivant, avec les joueurs, tu dois prendre des notes, prendre des statistiques, expliquer le rôle de chacun, je pense que c'est très, très important, avec une base de données, soit avec des statistiques ou des notes que vous avez prises. C'est important d'être honnête avec les joueurs aussi, de dire les vraies choses, de ne pas dire des choses qui n'arriveront pas. Je pense que c'est très, très, très important. Utiliser l'humour et expliquer le pourquoi des décisions, c'est très, très, très important. Si on communique avec un joueur aussi, c'est important de ne pas lui dire seulement ce qu'on veut qu'il change, mais aussi ce qu'il fait de bien. Souvent, on a tendance à vouloir corriger. Et parfois, c'est beaucoup mieux aussi de lui dire ce qu'il fait de bien, parce que le joueur, il fait des choses de bien. C'est important pour sa confiance. C'est important aussi de prendre le pouls des joueurs. Quand on va dans le championnat canadien, un exemple, après chaque journée, on fait un meeting avec les joueurs pour voir leur pouls. Qu'est-ce qu'on a fait de bien dans cette journée-là? Qu'est-ce qu'on a amélioré? Puis des fois, les joueurs, ils ont d'excellentes idées pour améliorer ton équipe. Donc, c'est important de communiquer avec eux. Et c'est important aussi de leur dire que ce qui est important, c'est pas ce qui t'arrive, c'est comment tu réagis. Okay, un exemple, si une équipe te met un protège sur un match, okay, ben, comment les joueurs vont réagir? Ben, l'entraîneur, ça va être important de bien communiquer avec ses joueurs, comment on réagit. L'important, c'est pas que l'autre équipe nous a mis un protège, mais comment on va réagir à ça. Ça, c'est bien important. Avec le staff d'entraîneurs, c'est important dans le choix de vos entraîneurs. C'est sûr que les entraîneurs doivent avoir la même vision, mais parfois, il faut que les entraîneurs qui soient dans le staff d'entraîneurs soient capables de challenger l'entraîneur-chef pour lui apporter un autre point de vue. Et ça, c'est très, très, très important au niveau de quand on fait les alignements ou quand on prépare les entraînements, comme John disait tantôt, de se réunir en groupe, puis chacun apporte son idée. Puis à la fin, c'est certain que probablement que c'est l'entraîneur-chef qui va prendre la dernière décision, mais en collégialité avec ses assistants-entraîneurs. Et chacun des entraîneurs doit avoir une force. C'est important que l'entraîneur-chef il détermine avec ses adjoints de quelle partie du match ils sont plus aptes à s'occuper. Un exemple, ça peut être un technicien, ça peut être le responsable des lanceurs, le responsable de la logistique, le responsable de l'offensive, de la défensive, de la condition physique, de l'analyse des matchs ou parfois même de la stratégie. Avec moi, dans les équipes du Québec, j'avais Sylvain Paquette, qui est un maître dans la stratégie. Donc, souvent, c'est lui qui apportait les meilleures idées. Donc, l'entraîneur-chef, c'est pas lui qui est le dieu, mais ça se fait en équipe, en famille aussi. Ça, c'est bien, bien, bien important, la communication.
So Jean-Yves talked about the importance of communication with athletes and within the coaching staff. Obviously, when you're coaching athletes in a different age bracket, they're used to new ways of communicating, and you have to keep up with what they're doing and also give them an opportunity to kind of make their feelings known to the coaching staff. The coach's job is to take feedback from everyone and working with that information when you're building lineups, when you're deciding what to work on. Make sure that you listen to both your athletes and your other members of your coaching staff. The head coach is obviously the person who decides what's going to happen, but they can take that information from various different areas to improve how they reach your athletes and communicate with them. Alors, merci beaucoup, Jean-Yves, pour nous rejoindre aujourd'hui. Reste avec nous pour quelques questions et on va continuer dans quelques instants.
Parfait.
That will conclude the first part of this webinar. Before we move on just to a few questions that we have in the question box, Softball Canada would like to acknowledge our great partnership with Rawlings Canada, who have invested a lot in our sport over the last 2 decades. Rawlings is the exclusive softball of Softball Canada's Canadian Championships and the exclusive equipment supplier to Softball Canada's national teams. We truly value their long-standing commitment to our programs. Cela termine la première partie de ce webinaire. Avant qu'on procède avec quelques questions, Softball Canada aimerait remercier Rawlings Canada pour notre excellent partenariat et pour avoir investi dans notre sport lors des 2 dernières décennies. Rawlings est la balle officielle des championnats canadiens et de Softball Canada et le fournisseur exclusif d'équipements aux équipes nationales. On apprécie beaucoup leur dévouement envers nos programmes. So I will now invite everyone back for a short question and answer period.
Good. All right. Here we go. I think we have everybody here. All right. So the first question I have is for you, Mel. It says, since you started coaching, what changes have you seen in the game itself? And how has your coaching style or tactics changed because of this?
I mean, I'm thinking to my days with Winthrop, and it's not that we didn't use the video analysis tool. It's just with, you know, the pace of the game and all that's going on, I've definitely turned to that a lot more often, a lot more frequently, to make sure that, you know, you're not missing out on aspects of the game as you're watching it live. So again, it's not something, you know, brand spanking new, but I think the amount that I turn towards that tool and use that tool has significantly increased since my earlier coaching days.
Excellent, good. We've got a question here for John now. It says, what is the best way for players to be noticed for the national team, especially when they're in an area that there's not top tournaments being held?
The best way for any player for the men's national team to get noticed is to actually play the top high level of ball as you can, and for us that's on the ISC circuit. And yeah, I understand where there's players or athletes that are in small towns that aren't playing in maybe the best league, but they have to take it upon themselves to get out of their small town to get on a club that's going to play good tournaments against the best competition in the world, so that we can see them at the highest level possible.
Une question pour vous, Jean-Yves. Qu'est-ce qui est la différence la plus marquante pour vous d'être entraîneur au niveau provincial comparé au niveau national avec l'équipe nationale?
Je pense qu'au niveau provincial, c'est plus facile de rejoindre les joueurs. Et le côté budgétaire aussi, la grosse différence est là, parce que quand tu as à déplacer des joueurs sur l'équipe nationale, c'est des frais qui sont très, très importants, alors qu'au niveau provincial, c'est plus facile de regrouper les joueurs ensemble en équipe. Et souvent, ils proviennent de la même région, de régions assez près, donc c'est plus facile de s'entraîner. Alors qu'à l'équipe nationale, ben, il faut fonctionner plus individuellement.
Excellent. All right. Mel, I've got another question here for you. Who has been your greatest supporter in your coaching career, and who was one of your early role models?
Greatest supporter. Just hard to pick out of family members here, but you I'm going to speak a little bit of my mom and, the way she supported me growing up with two older brothers. And, early on in my playing days and making sure that, I had the same, if not, more opportunities to do what I wanted to do. And I don't remember really, I'm sure I had a choice, but since softball was always a part, of my family growing up, it was always there and I knew I was going to do it, but she made sure that those opportunities were there for me. In terms of role model, so the other, great supporter is my brother, Hubie. Again, he grew up, he played the sport, he coached as well. And I watched a lot of the men's game growing up. And I think, trying in terms of my development and learning the game and learning the sport in the earlier years, and even now as it stands, I'm still looking up to him and learning a lot from what he's done in the past and what he continued to do.
Excellent. John, I've got another one for you. Every coach has their favorite drill or their kind of go-to drill when working on a specific skill. What drill is this for you?
Is this for me or JEAN-YVES?
For you, John.
Favorite drill? I'm going to say probably working on some set plays where it's not the norm for teams to practice, whether that's a fake steal or a double steal or a certain defensive situation where we're defending a slap bunter. I like the unique stuff that us as a team, we work on quite regularly, and I like that part of the game where it's a little bit more out of the box and more strategic than just the normal hitting double plays or turning two or whatever you want to call it.
Une autre question pour toi, Jean-Yves. Pourrais-tu nous expliquer ce que vous cherchez lorsque vous bâtissez un personnel des entraîneurs pour une équipe de calibre élevé?
Donc, nous, quand il faut à la base avoir la même vision, avoir la même vision du match, la même vision de ce que c'est qu'une équipe et des joueurs qu'on a besoin. Et deuxièmement, c'est être un spécialiste dans une phase du match. Un exemple, donc l'entraîneur-chef qui doit choisir ses adjoints doit choisir en fonction de chaque partie du match, soit les lanceurs, soit la défensive, l'offensive, le conditionnement physique. Et l'idéal, c'est d'avoir un staff où est-ce que chacun des entraîneurs apporte sa contribution et se complète très, très vite.
Merci.
All right, final question I have is for Melissa. Melissa, what is your fondest memory coaching with the women's national team program?
The 2015 Pan Am Games was, I think, extra special, partly because it was in, Ajax, Ontario, which is just next to my hometown where I grew up, and the opportunity to see that caliber of play for the people in this area, it doesn't happen very often. So obviously the result was what we wanted in a gold medal, but I think just bringing, that level of play to this area and having family, friends, and supporters, all in one park, basically my backyard, was a memory that's going to be tough to beat, but hopefully we will.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
So thank you very much, all of you, for joining us today. So that wraps up our question and answer period for today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us and for sending your great questions. If you have any comments or suggestions on any of our webinars, feel free to send them to myself, Gilles LeBlanc, or Angela Ballantyne at Softball Canada. The next webinar that we're going to have will be on Friday, May 1st at 2 p.m. With Scott Wilgris from the Women's National Team Program. He's our strength and conditioning coach, and Mathieu Roy from our Men's National Team. We hope you'll join us for that. Cela conclut notre période de questions. Merci beaucoup d'avoir participé, de nous avoir envoyé vos excellentes questions. Si vous avez des commentaires ou des suggestions pour ces webinaires, veuillez les envoyer à Gilles Leblanc ou Angela Valentine à Softball Canada. Le prochain webinaire sur la force et le conditionnement aura lieu vendredi le 1er mai à 2h de l'Est avec Scott Wilgris de l'équipe nationale féminine et Mathieu Roy de l'équipe nationale masculine. On espère que vous y serez.